What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Question Aggression with me, AJ from Nervous Aggression. So a few weeks ago, I released a video called 5 Horror Stories. And it wasn't like the 5 worst show experiences of all time, but it was 5 pretty bad ones that I could think of off the top of my head at the time of coming up with the idea of the episode. So I figured with this week's episode, why not take like a positive twist on it? And much like the 5 Horror Stories one, this isn't the 5 like best shows of all time. This isn't my 5 like end all be all, these were the best. These are 5 really rad shows that came to mind when I had the idea of like taking a positive spin on it. And before we get into the intro real quick, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who subscribed so far. I don't know how many people were subscribed before I started doing the series. We had quite a few because this channel's been around for quite a long time now. But the subscriber count has been going up more and more steadily as I've started the series, and we just cracked 100 likes the other day. So I want to thank all our new subscribers for tuning in and everything. Don't forget to check out the rest of the channel. We got live footage. We got like pretty much full sets and everything. Actually, spoiler alert, a couple of them are actually going to be talked about in this video. So without any further ado, let's get right into the list. Starting us off at number 5 is going to be the last time we played the Catacombs on the Friends Tour 2022. So this was our second time playing the Catacombs. The first time was a really cool show too. Got to play with our homies in Rotten Stitches. What's up, baby boys? Been friends with them forever. But the first show we played was kind of intense. I remember when we pulled up, the house is kind of like right next to the freeway down there, you know? And there was fireworks and shit going off, and something caught on fire and like ended up getting thrown or flew down or whatever onto the freeway. Someone had to run down there and get it. I remember during Rotten Stitches set, there was like police helicopters flying over and shit. Like, you can't make it up. It sounded like a fucking Project X movie. It was like complete chaos and war zone during the band's sets. Just constant fireworks, moshing. It was insane. So that happened in 2019, and we had been back once or twice since then. Like, Atlanta's a regular city for us to hit. So I just knew for the Friends Tour, when we got the Catacombs booked, especially I think it was on a Friday, like I knew it was going to be insane. And it absolutely was. There was like, I think someone said there was like 200, 300 people there, something like that. Every band was insane. Our set went really well. I think everybody down there really liked the new material, especially that's like a punkier city. I could tell everybody really liked the Friends EP. That's kind of how that whole last tour went. We went through the Friends EP, and then we played a couple stuff that's actually going to be on Enemies. The promo video I have on this channel called Enemies 2023 is actually us playing our new song, Fuck You, at the Catacombs at this show that I'm talking about. Not only that, but you can find the full set also on our channel. I'm gonna go ahead and put a card up here for it so you can check it out later. Just put it in your watch later or whatever. Don't forget to hit like, maybe comment down below, something like that. Keep this train rolling. But it was just an awesome show. There's really not much I can say about it except for there was a lot of people, everybody was into it, great environment, free beer, we got paid, hung out with some old friends, made some new friends, in a city that I absolutely love to play through. So starting off this list with no better place than the Catacombs, particularly that second show we played there. So coming in at number 4, we have the legendary ABC No Rio in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, New York City, fucking New York. ABC No Rio was a club that was always just on my bucket list to play because when I was in high school, really into street punk, stuff like that, a lot of the bands that I was into were in that like 90s street punk, you know, glue sniffing, spiky hair, beer drinking, oi, oi, oi era. And a lot of the footage that exists of those bands at that time is at ABC No Rio. It ended up going all day. It started off at noon, and I think we were like the last band on, and we ended up playing at like 10:30 or 11, but it was packed from the beginning to end, so it didn't really matter that we played last. Normally I'd be pissed at something like that, but I was just happy to be on the show, and hell, it was still packed when we played. That day in particular was really stressful. I remember getting into a group chat or something like that, like the night before when I'm at my friend's house having a couple beers before I leave for tour. Just like as a send-off party, like saying bye to everybody. I'm going out on the road for a couple weeks. I won't be back around, whatever. We get a message. I think there was a group chat formed, and the guy who was throwing the show said like, strict timing, this will not be on punk rock time. This is load in time. This is when the first band goes on. These are set times, blah, blah, blah. And I read that at like, maybe like 9, 10 p.m. the night before, and like, oh shit, we have to leave like right the fuck now if we're gonna make loading. So I remember saying, oh shit, to everybody, let them know what was going on, finished my beer, got in my car, went around town, picked everybody up, threw everyone's luggage into the back, threw all the gear into the back, and down the road we went. So we ended up making pretty good time. We ended up making it to like New Jersey. I drove straight through the night. And I'm kind of a night owl anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. And I only had like 2 beers before I left. It's not like I got hammered and went out there. But we make it to New Jersey by, I think it's going to be like 6 a.m. or so. I remember the sun was just getting up. And we pull over into this Flying J or whatever. And we just all decide like we're all going to like just try to take a nap for a while or whatever. So I get something small to eat real quick. And I try to sleep, but like between the nerves of this being my first big tour, being uncomfortable because I suck at sleeping in tight spaces, and just all the noise and shit going on at the truck stop early morning, I decided, fuck it, I'm not really sleeping anyway. I got a bit of a second wind. Let's just go ahead and go. Let's make it to the show and I'll try to catch some sleep there. So we all say, okay, cool. So we all get back into at the time I was driving like an SUV type thing. We all get back in. I go to turn the key and the fucking thing won't start. Like, it's not even trying to turn over. Like, the engine isn't going, nothing's working. And then, like a fucking movie, out of the woodwork, this giant truck comes out with this, like, wholesome, like, small town type dude, Midwestern type guy comes up, and he's like, you boys need some help. He's like, yeah, we need a jump. We're trying to, I kind of give him the whole situation. He's like, okay, no problem. Pulls his truck up and gives us a jump. And he can just kind of tell by the way it's running. He's like, nah, that doesn't sound good. I think you either need a new battery or a new alternator. And I'm like, fuck, okay, like, what does that cost? Like, how do I even do that? He's like, I'll take you to my buddy's garage. There's a parts store on the way. We'll stop there. Not only do I go in there, buy a battery, and change it, because that's one of the few things I know how to do, but he decides, nah, it's probably the alternator. He goes in there and buys us an alternator, because I had no more money. I spent all my savings on that new battery. He buys us a new alternator, changes it for us. I'm trying to give him some more money, trying to give him some merch. He's like, nope, just pass it on to the next person. That ended up making us last the rest of the tour. So I don't remember that guy's name. I doubt he's ever gonna see this, but shout out to that dude. Lancaster, PA is where we were, not New Jersey. So by the time we get to the show, fighting with Manhattan traffic on a Friday or a Saturday evening, we get there probably about 2 or 3 p.m. I remember messaging the promoter telling him we were going to be late, and he's like, no, don't worry about it, like, just get here safe. So I was like, oh, gee, thanks. We end up getting there and just hanging out the whole day. I couldn't get any fucking sleep the whole time. We end up going on, like I said, last band, and I just remember being tired, feeling fucking disrespected for being put on the end, just angry with the situation, nervous about, is my truck going to make it the rest of the tour? Just all these negative thoughts. So with all that bullshit going on the whole day, like, I'm not sleeping. I couldn't sleep. I'm nervous. I'm pissed off because we got put on last. I'm worried if my truck's gonna even make it the rest of the tour. Our bassist at the time, Billy, shout out Billy, I love you, but he took 4 fucking ever to get on stage. And I just remember being salty with the whole situation and staring at this room full of like the New York punk rock scene, whatever. And I didn't rehearse this, I didn't plan this, but I put all that bullshit aside and I just said into the mic, we're a band none of you ever heard of, from a state none of you give a fuck about. This song's about how 9/11 was an inside job. It's war crime. It's a pretty starts out quick kind of song. And I remember grabbing this unopened beer can that I had snuck in and just smashing it over my head until it exploded, and I just whipped it at the crowd. And everybody in the room took a step back. Now, when you're from a small town like me and you're playing this like club, you've had your like target, you've had your sights on for so many years, and you make that scene take a fucking step back when you start out, that's a huge moral victory. And from that moment till the end of our set, everybody's fucking going hard, moshing, rolling around, like it was amazing. Even the guy who put on that show that day, who like lived part-time or worked whatever at ABC No Rio, like gave me his contact information, said we'd love to have you guys back anytime. It was really great. What a way to kick off a tour, right? So that show's always gonna have a special place in my heart. That was the first show of our first really big tour, and I'm never gonna forget that. So coming in at number 3, we go back even further. This was This was still a tour, but this was like a week-long tour. I think we were only out for like 7 days, so this wasn't like a big tour. It was like 5 shows in 7 days, 4 shows in 6 days, something like that. So I wouldn't call that like a tour, but it is what it is. Anyhow, this venue no longer exists. Coming in at number 3 is the first time we played the Pariah House in South Philly. So let me give you guys a little bit of a backstory on the Pariah House. And this is coming from an outsider's perspective. I'm not from Philly, obviously. I didn't grow up there. We've played there quite a few times, twice at Pariah. But it was kind of notorious. It was a great place to play, but it was like a notorious spot to play because A, it was tiny. It was a tiny little basement, and I mean, that house was pretty much unlivable. It ended up getting condemned a couple years after that. There was like black mold in the fridge. I think there was like shit in bags in the backyard or whatever. That's what I heard. I didn't see them, but I heard like, don't go over there. That's where people shit in bags and leave them because their plumbing doesn't work. It was just like a really fucking grody ass house. Like you feel itchy when you walk in. But they had sick fucking shows and shows all the time and brought out of town bands through. So if you want to get your name out in Philly, you want to play for free, play for exposure, man, you know, go play the Pariah House. And if you suck, they will let you know. That is not the type of place like you can just go in and they take anybody in. Like, not only if you suck will you probably not get booked, but if you somehow make it onto the bill and you suck, they're gonna fucking let you know. Yeah, South Philly don't fucking play, man. They're not nice for the sake of being nice. You gotta earn their fucking respect out that way. So this would have been our second day on tour. The night before we had played a pretty cool show in Brooklyn with the legendary Urban Waste. That was fucking awesome. And so this is day 2 on the tour. At the time, Kyle, our current bassist, is actually playing guitar for us. And our bassist at the time was our friend Austin. And he's actually the guy who, I don't know how many of you guys watching this video right now are like super familiar with our work, especially our old stuff. But Austin's the one who actually wrote Road Dogs. He wrote the bass line and that kind of, I consider you wrote it. If you started it off and we all like wrote to it, I consider that you wrote the song. So Austin, buddy, you got the credit for writing Road Dogs. And this is at the time that like we started to like get more experimental with our music and stuff. Because on that EP, like Woke Up Raging was on there, Parasite was on there, this song we never play anymore called Reptiles on there, like really weird shit. But still heavy shit, you know what I mean? We still had like plenty of punk jams. And I remember pulling up to Pariah House, you know, a few hours before the show and everything, just going up, introducing people. The guy who met me at the door was like, oh, like, I'm so-and-so, so you know, like thinking he's a big deal. I don't even remember who that dude is. I remember his band played that night and they fucking sucked. I mean, going back to the, you know, being from a big city thing, nobody was outright like mean to him, but it was one of those sets where there's like a good bit of people watching you at the beginning. And at the end, there's like 3 people left. So take that for what it is, Mr. Big Shot. Douchebag. I fucking hate douchebags, man. So anyway, but we go and we meet a couple of the people there, and then we go and get some food and see like downtown Philly and shit. And then we end up coming back and just parking and running our gear in. The first band that played was really good. I can't remember what they were called. And then I can't remember. I think we went on after them. We actually linked up with these random dudes at the bar we went to go get food at, and they invited us back to their house, and like we smoked and drank and bullshit with them for a while. They ended up coming to the show to check us out. They were really cool dudes. But anyway, we get to Pariah, and the basement was fucking packed when we played, but that means that there was like maybe 25 people in there. But it was like packed wall to wall, all the way back, people on the steps. So it felt a lot bigger than it was. Like in my mind, it's like a sold out arena at the time. But obviously, like looking back in it, it's like, yeah, probably like 20, 25 people in there. But still great set. I don't remember which song we were playing, but it was getting to the point to where like, even though it was so tight and confined in there, just like, it wasn't really a mosh pit so much as like the whole like group of people that was in there were like moving in a circle and bumping into each other. There was just like no controlling it. And I remember getting like pushed a bunch and like hitting my head off the shelf thing, almost falling into the drum kit. So I ended up just putting my hand up on the shelf thing and doing the set like this. And then at one point someone bumped into me, and you wouldn't see it unless I was able to zoom in really fucking close. But like this just baby little chip on my tooth. And the fucking mic smacked right into my tooth. I felt it immediately. And I don't know if you ever chipped your tooth before, but it feels like so much. It felt like it was like half my tooth was gone. I was freaking out, but I finished the set because I'm a fucking G. But I finished the set thinking like, oh God, this is horrible. And then I'm showing people like, dude, I chipped my tooth, see? And people are like, what, where, what, where? So, but yeah, it was just, oh shit. Yep. Yeah, it's about time for that, isn't it? But yeah, Chip. Okay, Debo. Yep, just rub your ass on me. It's all good. Anyway, so Pariah House, that's another one that's always going to stick out in my mind. The first tour thing I went on, if you call, 5-6 days out of a tour, first tour I went on, Pariah House. Coming in at number 2 is going to be the last show on that 2015 tour I brought up earlier at Scrap Iron in Wilmington, North Carolina. So this is a place that I don't think is open anymore. But I remember when we played there, there's a little bit that goes into this. So that ABC No Rio show I talked about, that was the first show on this tour. And the last show on this tour is when we diverted with the Stitches because we had a show in South Carolina. They continued on and ended in Georgia, and we worked our way back up. But we stopped in North Carolina. We couldn't fill in any more shows because, I didn't know anybody back then. But we did end up booking a couple shows in North Carolina on the way up. And this was the second of those 2 shows. Both shows actually were in Wilmington, North Carolina. Both shows were really fun. But Scrap Iron has a special place in my heart, and I'm going to tell you why. So this is our last show on the 2015 tour. It's me, Alex, Blake, and Billy as the lineup. And I remember we were already in North Carolina for a day. So we already kind of had the lay of the land and stuff. And so we get to the place we're playing. And the owner is this dude, I'm pretty sure his name was Brandon. Really fucking cool guy. I don't know where he is or what he's doing now, but I hope he's doing all right. That dude ruled. So we get to the club. We get to the place. I don't know if you'd want to call it a club, but they had shows there regularly. Like, it was a thing. It was a bar. So we get to the bar, and there's 2 bars. There's like a basement bar, that's Scrap Iron, and then upstairs is kind of a more like normal, kind of yuppie kind of bar. And right off the bat, he's like asking about like, so what do I need to pay you guys, whatever. Like, there wasn't much talking with the guy who booked us there. Like, I know the guy who was the promoter for these places kicked us like a lot of money the night before for both shows. But Brandon was like, but like, I'd like to give you something on top of that, so what can I do? And like, that he didn't have to do that. That was really cool of him. And then on top of that, he's like, by the way, you guys like craft beer? And I'm like, I mean, I like any beer, cold, even if it's a little warm, I'll fucking drink it. I don't care. And Brandon says, good, because I got like 4 cases of this fucking craft beer that nobody's buying. You can just have it for free. Since you're a band, since you're from Ohio, you drink as much of it as you want. Damn, dude, you just unlocked the key to my heart. So I'm sitting there, I'm drinking this free craft beer, feeling like a fucking celebrity. And he says, so you guys hungry? Like, we don't have any food here, but there's a place literally 2 blocks from here, or however far it was. It's a bar that serves, me and like 3 of my friends will go and order a bucket of it, and we can barely finish it. It's so much food, and it's only like $40 and it's fresh. Bet. So Blake doesn't like seafood, but the other 3 of us do. We each chip in the money, get the bucket. Holy shit, some of the best seafood I had in my life. Come back, drinking more craft beer for free. It was kind of cool. There was like a Black Lives Matter meeting that happened before the show too, and this is back when all that stuff just kicked off. I think I mentioned earlier we had played Baltimore earlier in the tour, and that was right after the riots went down. I mean, it was crazy. It looked like a war zone. And especially like as a punk band, but also as just fucking decent human beings, we stand firmly against any kind of police brutality, any kind of racism. So it was kind of cool to see the birth of that kind of a movement and kind of be there for the early stages of it. Not that I have really anything to do with it, but it was cool to see. It's a big part of our history, whether you like it or not. But anyway, so after the Black Lives Matter meeting and everything went on, there was like some poetry going on, and then the punk show started. And the first band went on, and they were the same band that played with us the night before at Reggie's. And of course, I don't fucking remember their name, because that would be awesome. But they were pretty good, like we liked them and everything. And then another band went on, they weren't so great. And then another band went on, and they were a little better. And then we went on. And I remember just being so fucking exhausted from the tour. But this is kind of why I like longer tours, because the longer the tour goes on, the more tight your set is, the more it's like you don't have to worry about anybody fucking up, because it's just so automatic. You're playing like 5, 6, 7 days a week for a few weeks straight. You get pretty fucking tight. And I remember just kind of reverting back to the first thing I said at the first show of this tour. We're a band none of you have ever heard of, from a state none of you give a fuck about, and this song's about how 9/11 was an inside job. And that was just enough, the atmosphere, the mood, everything. to set all the people off. Crazy mosh pits from start to end. I did the smash the beer over my head thing, you know. One of those things, like, I didn't intend to copy myself from the first show. It just kind of naturally happened. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, like, in the back of my head. So the set was just, like, on fucking fire. Like, we played more aggressively, tighter, almost a little faster than we normally do. It was, like, one of the best sets we had. That probably was the best set we ever had, is that lineup. Like, with that lineup, we've had some killer fucking sets. That might have been just overall the best set we ever played. Tightest, most aggressive. One of the key things that always sticks out to me in this set is, I remember, you know, especially back then, but pretty much anytime we play, beer gets spilled everywhere. And I remember standing there singing, and the owner of the club, who is like absolutely in love with us at this point, runs up and like jump hugs me and does the front backpack thing. Now, I'm like 6'4", right? And this dude's like my height. I'm a lot fatter than he was, but he's still like not a little dude. And he front backpacks me while I'm singing, no problem. Like, I like crowd interaction. This is fucking hardcore, by the way. Side note, if you're a hardcore singer that gets pissed off when the mosh pit bumps into you or people jump on stage, fuck off, dude. This is hardcore. This is what you signed up for. Don't be a fucking pussy about it, dude. But anyway, so the dude jumps up and he like front backpacks me, and I'm like, okay, and I like stand in, and I'm like, okay, I got my balance. And then when I like go to like just take a step to complete my balance, I don't know if I stepped on a banana peel or what, because I've stepped on beer and slid around before. This was insane. I step on this fucking like little puddle of fucking whatever, goop slime, and just boom, fucking spine buster Batista bomb this dude right in the middle of this hard ass floor. Like, this floor was like solid concrete with like linoleum over it or some shit. I don't think that's what it really was, but it was the fucking basement. It was fucking completely solid. And he's okay. He landed completely flat on his back. He's like, yeah, I didn't even feel it. It's all good. But I'm a fucking hefty motherfucker. I was probably right around 3 bills at the time. Fucking all my weight come crashing on this dude. So once again, shout out to Scrap Iron. Shout out to Brandon. That was I always talk about that show, about back in the day shows. That's always one that comes up. So it had to be on the list. I can already feel this video is going longer than I'd like it to. I'm trying to cut these down a little bit in time because I tend to ramble, but oh well, this is me. I'll get better with time, I'm sure. Until then, you're gonna have to deal with it. So, that brings us to number 1. As if there was any other option. 4th of July, Hell Pit, 2021. So I'm not just saying this because like that's our home base, Hell Pit, that's our Kyle Basis house, all these things, blah, blah, blah. And that is part of the reason. I ain't gonna lie to you, like that's a big deal to me that like we have our like little home base. And the fact that our bassist kind of like started this fucking cult known as Hell Pit. Like we go all over the place and people Hell Pit, scream Hell Pit and shit. It's pretty dope. And since, you know, we practice there and everything like that, like we got a really good feel for how it goes, whatever. A few reasons why this is my favorite. Probably my favorite show. The biggest reason is because it was our first show back after the pandemic. Man, 2020 was a hard time on all of us. You know, it really was. And someone like me who pretty much lives and breathes to do music, to play out, to write, all these things, like, it was like I was stuck in time that whole year. As I'm sure many of you felt the same exact way, just like stuck. Couldn't do anything, couldn't go out. You know, I mean, I still did shit and like hung out with my friends or whatever. Not much on that front changed, but you know, at the time one of the members in the band wasn't exactly motivated to write any music with us, so like not only were we stuck not playing shows, but we weren't getting anything done. One of those things where you don't really realize how depressed you were until you like get some distance from that time and look back on it. I mean, I was miserable. And I remember like right before everything happened, I had like made the choice to like move to Columbus because it'd be better for the band, and I finally get down there and the world fucking shuts down. It was miserable. So fast forward to 2021, Mike joins into the band, and he's so motivated to be a part of a band again. It was his first time being in a band in a while. He's told us many times how much it like helped him mentally and how happy he was to be out doing music again. Not only that, but like with the energy and the skill and the just willingness to write and the willingness to get shit done and the willingness to take it as far as we can possibly take it. All that new energy that Mike brought in couldn't have happened at a better time. not only were we restarting because the world opened back up, but it was kind of like, hey, we had to hit the reset button on the band. Might as well do it with someone who's like super motivated and motivating us at the same time. So all that coming together, Mike's debut show, first show back after the quarantine, it's home for us. A lot of our friends and pretty much at this point, family came out to that. Oh man, it was just an incredible show. And also, just like the Catacombs, our full set of that is up on the YouTube channel. I'll put a card up for it right now. There's really not much else I can say about that show. I mean, there was some drama. Almost fought this fucking pansy. I'm not going to get into it on the channel. Had some great times, great laughs with friends. Drank about 1,000 fucking beers. Crashed on the couch, woke up the next day, went out and got pizza, hung out for a while with Kyle, went home and just slept all day, hung out with my boy. Yeah, just that whole day. So yeah, Hell Pit, 4th of July, the very first Hell Pit. That might be my favorite show we've ever done. At least right now. If you ask me in another mood, I'll probably give you another show. All right, and I have to put this one in here. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but honorable mention. Homecoming show at Cedars last year at the end of our Friends tour. That Friends EP was the culmination of like everything we've been trying to work on for years. Again, with Mike's attitude and willingness to work on things, we were able to get it done in a relatively quick amount of time. I was really, really proud how that EP turned out. And we took it around the country and we're proven right that yes, this is good. Because I mean, the same reaction at pretty much every show. Even the last couple shows when I wasn't at 100%, I ended up getting sick halfway through that tour. I don't want to make excuses or anything like that, but even the shows where I was sick and like definitely less than 100% at, people were really impressed with us and people really loved it. So coming home to that homecoming show, we got back to Youngstown at like maybe 8 a.m. Came back home to my pup dog, took a shower, and went immediately to bed. Slept hard as fuck for like however many hours, and woke up, got in the van, picked the boys up, went down the street to Cedars, and people were literally like out front waiting for us to pull up. The reception was amazing. Everybody's buying me shots and beers and shit left and right. All our friends are there. A bunch of new people too that are just hearing the buzz about, oh, there's this band from here that went on tour. Holy shit. It was just an incredible fucking show. Not to mention Billy and all the people down at Cedars, like they were on a great spot down there. I fucking love going to Cedars. I don't go there often enough, but when I do, it's always a great time. And the sound system is like among the best I've ever played. I heard everything on stage. Whoever's running their sound down at Cedars knows what the fuck they're doing. So can't not mention the show at Cedars, our homecoming show. Just everything was really awesome. That actually is not on this page, but there is a set on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll link the card right here. So if nothing else is going to motivate you to click on it though, there is a part on there where I publicly thank my younger brother Derek for coming along tour with us. And I don't know if it was, I'm an emotional guy and I'm not afraid to admit that, but I think I can usually keep it together. But I think between like the sleep deprivation, being sick, all these things, and then just the moment itself, I fucking end up like crying and hugging Derek at the end of the set. And like, I don't know, it was really cool. So after that, I was able to officially say I've shed blood, sweat, and tears on the stage. That was the first time I ever shed tears on a stage. So that about does it for 5 of my favorite shows. Thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social medias at Nervous Aggression Official on Instagram, Facebook.com/Nervous Aggression. Please check out the video Enemies 2023. If that doesn't get you hyped for our new material, then maybe we're just not for you. But I have a feeling if you're into hardcore music, you're into intense shit, you're gonna like that. You owe it to yourself to go over. It's like 90 seconds long. Enemies 2023. Nervous Aggression, Youngstown, Ohio. Peace.